order by Mr. Pradeep Ramakrishnan. It is my pleasure to welcome our MC members, advisors, past presidents, HMA members, the participants on this platform, and also who are viewing us live, our convener for lecture meetings, and our vice president, Mr. Ramchandar, welcoming our speaker, Mr. Pradeep Ramakrishnan, General Manager, SEBI. And last but not the least, I welcome our president, Ms. Kavita Rajesh, who I request to take this meeting forward.
Thank you, Geeta. Very good evening to one and all. Thank you, sir, Pradeep Garu, for accepting our request. And really, it's an humble gesture from you. And I would request everybody to mute their mic so that the speaker can address it well. Thank you. And I would like to talk today about what Hyderabad management is all about. Hyderabad Management Association was formed in the year 1964. It's 57 years of its formation now by dozens few dedicated young managers of twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, and who felt the need for developing managerial skills among young executives and spreading the message of professionalism among the practicing managers with the involvement of academia and industry. Hyderabad Management Association does various activities, like it provides a platform for professional academicians and management students to stay abreast of contemporary management practices and even shaping the professionals and its emerging challenges. It does plethora of activities we undertake in the context of evening lecture meetings like the one we are doing today, the training programs, panel discussions, seminars, conventions, quiz programs, management, faculty, and student development programs, and etc. This year, we have added a certificate program in partnership with business schools, Industry Readiness Program, IPR, which is called as a certificate program to bridge the gap between the campus and the corporates. MSME Entrepreneur Desk, we also have initiated this year to give a consultancy to the MSME units in collaboration with Krishna Prasad Foundation Trust, excuse me, and an international desk to link the institutions and corporates to international universities for internships and international trade opportunities for our corporates, beside tie-ups with different consulates and cultural exchange and technology through speaker meetings. All India Management Association, we are associated with Hyderabad Management Association is affiliated to IMA, New Delhi, associates with HMA for conduct of various joint programs and joint programs at Hyderabad. Our management committee consists of 10 elected representatives of its members, 6 co-opted members from the industry, academia, society, advisors from government, defense, industry, and corporate. Our outstanding excuse me, our outstanding achievements, sorry, my throat is bad. Renowned speakers of nation state importance have addressed HMA. His Excellency Sri Pranab Mukherjee, the then President of India of Sri APJ Abdul Kalam ji, and Sri Jayavant Singh and Srimati Renuka Challa and Sri Chidambaram and Sri Sachin Pilot and Sri Konda Vishweshwar Reddy and Srimat Ranjan Kumar and S. Rajashekar Reddy and Sri Vaiti Deveshwar and Sri Ramodari and Sri Irani and Sri Kalyan Sen Gupta, etc. And then the Tamil Nadu Governor, His Excellency Sri P.S. Ram Mohan Rao Garu and Sri Rangarajan from RBI Governor, His Excellency Sri ESL Narasimha Rao Garu and Roshai Garu and Sri Nara Chandrababu Naidu Garu and Sri Kalvakunta Tarak Rama Garu. Sorry, sir, I would request everybody to mute the speakers and so on. Illustrious personalities like DVS Rajagaru and General Gokhale and Nirupam Rao and VSRP are Adru Sumali and Atluri Subbarao Garu and Chief Justice Challa Kodandram have been the past presidents among many stalwarts of the society. India, My Dream interactive lecture series. HMA conducted the special series in 2002 and 2003, where 10 renowned speakers from across the country addressed the theme. The grand finale was addressed by APJ Abdul Kalam ji, His Excellency, President of India, where he articulated his Vision 2020 for India. IMA and HMA 22nd National Management Convention The 32 NMC of the theme of the best of the spirits of the challenger, which was successfully conducted on 23rd and 24th September 2005. Hyderabad had been the first to its credit. It was the first NMC where the state government was a partner. The event was attended by more than 1,000 participants for the first time in NMC history. The sponsorship crossed more than 1 crore as a mark. The Shaping Young Minds, HMA conducted IMA Shaping Young Minds program in 2004 and again in 2010, which was attended by large number of management students, faculty and young managers. The program was the grand success. The national icons from the industry, government, NGOs, Cine World and sports addressed the future managers of the country, which felt the deep impact of young minds. The program is now again planned in 2020. The regional conclave in December 2010 in March 2011, HMA in collaboration with Madras Management Association, Conrad Foundation, German conducted 99 and 12th Southern Regional Conclave, which was runaway success. The conclave was addressed by distinguished speakers, including 2 members from the parliament and from Germany. The conclave was now again planned in February-March 2021. The Impact 21 HMA soft skills training program for students, unemployed, education, youth. Impact is successfully has gained popularity over the last 5 years. This is an association with JC International and Vasavi Club of Greater Hyderabad. Attendance is overwhelming and more than 1,000 participants of each session. The topic now trainers, the experts and celebrated speakers address the students and share their personal experiences, which highly motivated and encouraged the students. The icon speakers are the role models for this generation. Mana Hyderabad was the stakeholder series in the 6th panel discussion sponsored by Pennar Industries Limited, was conducted during the year 2011 and 12. The current and burning topics involve the stakeholders, general public were touched with in this series, which proved to be highly successful and useful to the society. The series was inaugurated by His Excellency ESL Narasimhan Garu, Governor of Andhra Pradesh of 6th April 2011, addressed by luminaries like Sri Sheshadri Reddy MLA and Vice Chairman National Disaster Management Authority of New Delhi and other prominent speakers and so on. The annual awards was the first this is the first professional organization in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh to institute an annual award. The Manager of the Year award in 1973 recognized the manager of his outstanding achievement as well as his contributions to the organization he heads. Since then, the number of awards have risen to 12. Eminent personalities like the Dr. V.S. Sarawat and P.B. Pattabhiraman and Ramesh Geli Garu and D.V. Raju Garu and P.V. Gadgil Garu were some of the awardees from HMA. ESG framework SEBI was the new order for the by Pradeep Kumar SEBI. Today we will learn how SEBI is going to be a harbinger to the society to ensure ensuring the industry cooperates towards the line of ESG in environment, social and governance. The importance of significance of including the role this will play on the climate change as well as the impact on society. What is the role of the government, society and individual, and they play for the sustainability and for its said that earth which will live is on, the earth which is live is a loan given by our children, and we have to hand this to them with interest, and it is better that we hand it to them in a better way. Hence, let us listen from how SEBI will ensure that this and what is our responsibility towards environment. I would request our Vice President Garu, convener for lecture meeting, to introduce the speaker, and thank you, Pradeep Ramakrishna Garu, for accepting the invitation, and it's a pleasure to hear from you.
Thank you, Kavita Garu. It has been a very detailed information about HMA. what all HMA does for fostering the culture of management across, trying to upgrade and update all of us, all the members and others also on the latest event that are happening on a continuous basis. Today, I think we are highly privileged to have a speaker by name, Mr. Pradeep Radhakrishnan. We are very happy, sir, to see you here on our screen here on our platform, and we feel very privileged to have you on our board today. Mr. Radhakrishnan, basically, he's a graduate in commerce from Annamalai University, and then he's done his company secretary. He worked as a company secretary in Madras Fertilizers for about 2 years, where he was handling the secretarial practices and the boardroom. Later, he shifted to Kothari Petrochemicals. There also, he was doing the same work for about 2 to 3 years. Then later on, he joined SEBI in February 2002 and is presently the general manager there. He has gained considerable experience in the listing operations of the corporate in India, more so with reference to compliance and monitoring related to corporate governance, BRSR, that is business responsibility and sustainability reporting, LODR monitoring, listing obligations and disclosure requirements. And then presently now as general manager, he's handling the department of debt and hybrid securities, NC's regulations, non-controlled securities, LODR, then after debt entities related issues. He has considerable experience on this ESG aspect, which now has become a mandate by SEBI to start and more or less as a mandate to come in their balance sheet disclosures about the ESG operation that the companies are doing for the top 1,000 companies. This year, I think it was made as a sort of introductory type of thing, and later on it's being made mandatory. We all know how important ESG is. It is basically, many may think, what is the importance of ESG? We have been hearing about CSR, but now I think the ESG has come over, protecting the planet, so social responsibilities, and then the governance. All are interlinked, but I think, sir, we will probably listen to Sri Pradeep Garu and listen to the various aspects of this. With these few words, I once again thank you, sir, and also thank all the August audience. I would acknowledge the presence of Gopalakrishna Garu IAS for your kind presence, sir, and all the August audience for sparing the valuable time to come and make this program a good success. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Pradeep. I'll also request that at the end of the session, we'll have a question answer session. I'm sure Pradeep will be able to take all the questions, but I would prefer that you put it in the question box, chat box, so that, it will be easy for us to go about. Otherwise, there will be sort of crisscrossing. With this request, Sir Pradeep Garu, please take over.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure here. And as Ms. Kavita was reading the illustrious people who have, addressed HMA, so I'm very privileged to be one of the persons who has joined that list, and it's an honor for me, in fact, to speak to HMA people, members. So today I have a small presentation on the BRSR, which is a very important thing because ESG is the growing thing today, and it's not only growing as a business proposition, it's growing as more as something which we have to integrate into our lives. Today morning, for example, you take me. I had gone to my hometown a few days ago, and I reached only probably 3 days ago. And so immediately after I came home, so I have been putting a lot of. So I have 2 bags of trash. One for all vegetable and other trash which you can sort of immediately discard, which are perishable. The other ones are non-perishable. And the non-perishable trash, in just a matter of 3 days, in one plastic cover, it has grown to 3/4 of the plastic cover. So it is like I, as an individual, because if I'm going to generate so much trash just in a matter of 2.5, 3 days. Imagine how much all of us would be generating together, in our daily lives. So, and most of this trash is after the invention of plastic. It has gone up so much, and it has become a very cheap and useful alternative and a very convenient alternative for packaging and other issues, so that we don't have a choice but to use plastic as of now. So much so that we don't know how it's going to decompose. It's not going to decompose at all. It's going to stay for thousands of years. And you look at our oceans and the landfill, ultimately where it ends up is a landfill, and which is going to cause a lot of harm. So now the entire world has sort of recognized together, because this awareness has been there for some time. But once it starts hitting you so much, then people come back to the fore, and then they try to, we have all come together to bring solutions. See, to just give a background, why is this ESG thing so important? The ESG thing is important, as I said, because it's so integrated with our daily lives. You can't sort of isolate this as a phenomenon or anything like that. So until the Industrial Revolution, or when mechanization set in, and then the introduction of an invention of newer polymers and packaging and other issues, other items, it was not as much industrialization, etc. till that time. So there was a very nice chart which I had seen. See, if the Earth is around 46 million years old, and if you convert that into just 1 year, in the matter of the last 4 days, we have destroyed around 50% of the planet, which means that a lot of things have happened in the last 50, 60 years, which have gone to have such a profound impact on the planet, which, like, for example, the invention of the diesel vehicle, the industries, every single thing. And it's not to say that if I drive an electric vehicle, I'm going to contribute to zero pollution, because we end up polluting in some other way or the this shirt that I am wearing, and the clothes that we are all wearing. All these things have come through a lot of polluting industries only, because it is something which we don't, and I'm speaking to you through a computer, through the internet. This is all electronic waste at a point in time. So this is something which is integrated into our lives, so we don't have a choice but to live. But how can we sort of minimize is what is the issue. The second issue is about society. See, there was one point in time when just maximization of wealth, profits were the only idea behind which businesses were started. And ultimately, if I am a shareholder, if I'm going to put 10 rupees in a company, if I'm going to 20 rupees out, that is what I want, because that is what is my wealth getting created. But over a period of time, two things have evolved. One is, see, today, if you want to know about a company, what do you see? You look at the balance sheet, look at the P&L account. All these things are financial metrics. See, what is a metric with which you are going to evaluate a company? It will be the balance sheet and P&L account, right? So over a period of time, this has moved away from this, has anyway stayed occupying pride of place. For a period of time, non-financial information about a company has started coming, which means that non-financial information about a company has become as important as financial information. In the year 2000, for listed companies, SEBI introduced corporate governance practices in India. So it was the first time corporate governance was introduced legally. Under law, legislation for corporate governance was introduced in India, and SEBI had introduced it in a phase. It was phased out over the top 500, top 1,000 entities by market capitalization, and finally it has been extended to every listed entity other than the ones which are in the SME sector. Now, this takes care of the governance portion, because the G part of ESG is governance. So governance means that you need to have a proper board. The board should have independent directors. You should have, you should have women directors. You should have proper committees. Committees should meet. Independent directors should meet. All these things in the interest of the stakeholders, not just the investors. I use the word stakeholders because all the people are connected to a company, right from the shareholders to the directors to everyone. Then that leaves out with the other two things, which I was saying, E, which I will again delve deeply into today, and then S part of it, that is society. What does the business contribute to a society? How many people are you employing? What is it that are you helping specially abled people? Are you employing child labor? These are all things which are. And what is it that you are doing to the society? What about the CSR expenditure? Have you done anything? So these are the things which are important as far as businesses today are concerned. So the aspects of business have moved away from not only wealth maximization, but also social responsibility, which is the cornerstone of ESG. So I have a small presentation today, though I'm not going to stick too much to the presentation, but I would also like to have an interactive session. And I would be very glad to have answer questions also. See, as I was talking about sustainability, sustainability is about three different pillars. It is environmental, society, and governance. The governance principles, as I told you, are contained in clause 49. Earlier, it was clause 14 of the listing agreement. So listing agreement has become the listing regulations. So listing regulations are applicable for all listed entities. Listed entities have to comply with all the aspects of the listing regulations, including corporate governance. Now, there are two types of listed entities. One is debt listed entities and one is equity listed entities. Equity listed entities other than SME entities have to comply with corporate governance. In case of debt entities, purely debt listed entities, in case you have an outstanding of 500 crore and above, you are considered as a high value debt listed entity, and presently it is available, it's applicable on a comply or explain basis. So this is as far as compliance is concerned. So these are the people who, these are the companies which have to comply with corporate governance. Now, if you look at governance, why did we introduce governance? What is the need for governance? See, the word corporate governance itself means how a company is governed, how a company is being run. So you have directors since as old as the hills. The concept of a joint stock company is there. So what is it that was important for us to bring in? See, the concept of independence is very important to the board. Once there is independence, the independence is going to guide the board into better decisions and decisions which are important to the stakeholders and the company as a whole. And by stakeholders, there will be a lot of things, including wealth maximization, which is very important. So when again you come back to the other two things, pillars, which we are going to talk more about, because on the three fronts, if you take E, S, and G, India is miles ahead of most countries on the G part, because we have brought in lots of, ever since 1992, ever since SEBI has come into being. SEBI has brought in a lot of rules and regulations, etc. A lot of things have happened whereby a lot of, this has been revised periodically, continuously this has been revised. And SEBI's corporate governance norms are perhaps the best in the world. And India has been consistently ranked in any international survey as far as corporate governance is concerned, easily in the top 10, which I can assure you, because our securities market laws, you can actually see the list of books which are there behind me. The SEBI manual itself is running into 3 books now, and it contains laws on everything, single thing, right from insider trading to takeover to FUTP and everything. So as far as governance and laws are concerned, India is among the top bracket. Now, the other two aspects are environment and society. See, we should keep in mind the fact that we are a very young country in terms of being an independent country. So we are like just 75 odd years old. And we have, in the phase of industrialization, initially we had the green revolution, we had the agriculture, we had then industry, and then we have services which have been contributing to our GDP. Now, if you are a developed country, a lot of things are sort of fixed in stone, and you can easily convert. Like, for example, today you take something as simple as an electric vehicle. Today, if you want to go and buy a vehicle, what will you do? You just go get a scooter and come back. Now, there is a premium of an electric vehicle over a scooter, of an electric scooter over a normal scooter. A normal scooter costs around 60,000 rupees, 70,000 rupees. Electric scooters cost from 1 lakh and above. So can a common man afford that premium? Obviously not. So it will take time for the common man to afford that premium. We need time, which is why going back to the cornerstone of the ESG. See, in the year 2011, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs brought in certain guidelines called the National Voluntary Guidelines. And these national voluntary guidelines were for the sake of for environment and other issues. So this, I will just show you that particular thing. So sorry. Are the screens visible? Okay. So in the year 2011, the National Voluntary Guidelines came into play. So the National Voluntary Guidelines were a small fillip to business responsibility reporting. So if I am a country, and as a country, if I am going to say that I will ensure that the emissions in a particular year, for example, the climate, I will ensure that it does not contribute to more than 1.5 degrees of the heating up of the earth, then I should again go back to statistics and ensure that I'm taking measures to control it, right? That is what India has had agreed upon in the Paris Accord in 2015. So initially it was voluntary. Once we brought in voluntary, SEBI brought in the business responsibility reporting regulation, business responsibility reporting format. This was for listed entities, and we brought in initially only for the top 100 entities by market capitalization. Then we extended it to top 500 entities by market capitalization. So in the business responsibility reporting, what was contained? Essentially, this business responsibility reporting contained information about what is the company doing, how much is it emitting, are you, what are the industry-friendly practices that you're adopting, what are the society-friendly practices that you're adopting, and all these things. So this was not so much of a quantifiable issue. So a lot of these things are qualitative aspects. Are you handling this? Are you doing this? Are you taking steps to control e-waste? So the answer is yes. If so, what are you doing? So this was the story till from 2012 onwards. See, in 2015, India signed the Paris Accord. Paris Accord, where a lot of countries came together and said that, okay, we will try our best to reduce emissions. So we have to take steps to ensure that these emissions are reduced. So what can we do? So we have to bring a lot of rules and regulations, and rules and regulations can be brought in only when we are able to measure what exactly has happened. So in the year 2018, so the Ministry of Corporate Affairs brought in this NGRBC, National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct. Now, responsible business conduct actually takes it a step ahead. See, today, is anyone talking about global warming? No one is talking about global warming. Everyone is talking about climate change. So the word global warming is sort of passé now. We are talking about climate change because now it is affecting a lot of, today, I was just seeing the news, after after years, there has been snow in one place in America, and we had forest fires. We had, floods, in Europe, in Germany, in India, in different places. So suddenly there is drought. We have had heavy rains. So all these things are also a lot of man-made things contribute to this irregular, climate-related issues. So what can we do is that we have to try to ensure that we minimize the negative impact on the environment, which is this BRSR is a small step towards it. Mind you, I'm using the word a small step because it's actually a very small step. So what about this NGRBC? After the NGRBC was introduced, SEBI was on a panel with the MCA, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, constituted a group, and in the group, SEBI, the Niti Aayog, and the IICA and others were there, and we consulted the various other ministries and other stakeholders, and we drafted a paper. So this paper was submitted, and then after this paper was submitted, SEBI brought in the BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. So it was a huge improvement over the BRR. So BRR, as I said, it was a lot of qualitative information. BRSR tries to move away from not only qualitative information, give a huge fillip to quantitative information. Because if I'm going to ask you, how are you? The answer will be, I'm fine. So what is fine? Can I measure fine? I cannot measure fine. Are you doing your best for the environment? Yes, I am doing my best for the environment. I'm trying to provide employment to women. I'm trying to remove child labor. But then what are the statistics talking about? Ultimately, it all boils down to the numbers. So the BRSR is a huge departure from BRR, and it integrates a lot of quantitative issues also, which will ultimately help India as a country to measure where we are going as far as this is concerned. See, you also have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. See, what the Sustainable Development Goals are, a total of 17 odd parameters. They are specifically like women. What are you doing for the women? Water, children, sanitation. It ranges from every single thing that's going to affect the common man. So on that, we all have, our own small thing to contribute. Ultimately, like for example, COVID. What does the government say? The government tells us, please wear a mask. Please get yourself vaccinated. Try to not go out in groups. Try to avoid functions. So the government can only give instructions. Ultimately, it has to be followed by every individual on the road. So similarly, as far as this is also concerned, we have to ensure that we are trying our best to protect the environment and also give a fillip to the society. Now, I'll give a small, I'll throw some more light on the social aspect of ESG. At one point in time, not all of us are, they are like, we don't reach the upper class in terms of money. No, see, the only metric known to man is what? It's money, right? So we need to ensure that everything is there for everyone. That is the concept of a socialist economy, right? So India technically is also a socialist thing, because when we are a democracy, we want to ensure that there is all for each and each for all. So while it also propels a person to making more money and help the wealthier get more wealthier, it also needs to ensure that the person who is poor also comes up in life. So that is the reason behind, that is the whole idea behind having a S part of it. Now you take something as simple as women. I give a small idea about women. See, when I was a company secretary in my listed company, there was one point in time in the year 2000. I remember when I was going to my first board meeting and I saw all around how many women were there. There was no women. So there was one question which I just actually asked one of the people as to why are there no women in the board? So they said, see, women don't reach till this end, this height. They don't reach this high. So which means that they drop out after a point in time. So which is why in the year 2013, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in the Companies Act and SEBI through the listing regulations in the year 2015, we brought in this mandatory requirement of a women director, because the idea is to have diversity also on boards. You know, even today, almost 80% of the CEOs in America, which is supposed to be a nation which has got a more evolved, corporate law for hundreds of years, has got only 86%. Almost more than 80% are not women CEOs. So for the best record for good diversity goes to the Scandinavian countries like Norway, Denmark and other places where almost 50 to 60% of the boards are having women directors, which is a very important thing. So what did SEBI do? SEBI brought in this concept of a women independent director. So we said that, okay, you have populate your boards also with women directors. So immediately, what was the response? Everyone brought in their wives, their sisters, all those people and their relatives, and they put them on the board. You want a women director? There is a women director. Now we have complied. So we said, okay, fine. We are fine with it for the time being. Let at least there be some women on the board. Okay, let us make a start. Okay, this is better than having no women director. So after almost 5-6 years, SEBI brought in this rule that this women director should be replaced by a women independent director. So now that we have achieved that goal of diversity, let us also ensure let us fulfill what we set out to fulfill, which is to have an independent, right-thinking women on the board, not someone who is going to nod at whatever you're going to say. So that is how the whole concept of a women independent director came, and that also contributes to the S part of the whole ESG. So these are all minor things which are going to do. For example, another example I can think about is child labor. Child labor is a very big problem which is going to impact a lot of, which has impacted gravely a lot of countries, particularly developing countries, or which are disparagingly referred to as a third world. And we have a lot of, particularly if you look at factories which we call as sweatshops, jute factories and all these textile factories, cracker factories, you will still find a lot of children, poor children, who have been shorn of their schools and studies. They are working. So the idea behind the BRSR is to ensure that not only you as a company, but also your subsidiary or associate company does not employ any child labor. So there is a specific requirement as to what are you doing for this? What are you doing to mitigate this? So that is the statistic which you have to report. The other thing which you also have to understand, also we all have to understand is, see, if you are blessed with 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth, 2 hands, and 2 legs, you should really consider yourself blessed. There are many people around us who are specially abled, right? Who are unable, who for some reason, because of an accident or because of a birth defect, they don't have everything as what we have. So for the differently abled, what do we do? For example, do you know, in the last 6-7 years, when you go to a mall, when you have been to malls, have you seen ramps? You would have seen ramps. Earlier, these ramps were not existing. Why are these ramps there? These ramps are to ensure that these specially abled people also are able to get into a mall and enjoy the mall. Okay, so these are all small things which companies also do. And what are they doing in employment? That is why we have reservations for specially abled people, which a lot of private companies are also doing. So this BRSR also goes forth to ask as to companies what they are doing there as far as specially abled people are concerned, what you are doing as far as women are concerned, how many women employees have you employed? Is there any pay gap See, most of us follow tennis matches, right? A lot of people are fans of tennis. In the in the Grand Slams, there is a huge pay difference between what a male tennis player gets and a women tennis player gets. So the Women Tennis Association also took it up with a lot of other associations. Some people have sort of sorted the pay gap. Many of them still continue. Even today, in many private companies, this whole pay gap issue exists between men and women. So that is also something which we need to bridge. So this BRSR also is going to give a fillip to, because once you start disclosing all these things, then you will have to ensure that your disclosure is proper. And once it's going to show you, throw a light on what exactly are the practices followed by the company, you will try to ameliorate these practices. So that is what is all about, the social aspect of this. See, today, if you are a startup, okay, or if you are any company, what are the different sources of finance? You have your own funds. You can take money from your family. You can take money from your friends. You can borrow money from the banks. You can also take money from certain NBFCs. You can also take money from the capital market and other things. But a very important source of finance is also institutional finance. A lot of institutions, a lot of angel investors are the people who help these startups and a lot of other companies. Now, all over the world, the biggest of the investors and the smaller of the investors are gradually transitioning to ESG investing. Now, if your company is following the right practices, are they following all the holistic practices, labor practices, then I will invest in your company. In case you are not, for example, many companies who are into fossil fuels all over the world, particularly petroleum producing companies, they are finding a lot of these institutional investors deserting them. They are reducing the investment, or they're sort of coming out of their investment. The reason is because they don't want to invest in these anymore, and they don't want to invest. And if suppose there are, for example, sexual harassment cases, and there are other cases in the company which, so many institutional investors pull out because they are not the best practices, they are not good governance. So similarly, in this case also, climate risk is an investment risk, and climate transition also presents a very historic investment opportunity. So today, if you look at the voting pattern in the past 3-4 years in corporate India, with the rise of proxy advisors, shareholder democracy, investor activism, many companies are also getting votes against the resolutions which have been proposed by them. For example, if there is a director who has not attended a meeting at all, the institutional investors vote against them. Many people are voted out also. In some companies where the performance is not good, the managing director's salary is voted against. So shareholder democracy is actually changing. It is churning out a lot of positive decisions as far as this is concerned, and companies also need to ensure that sustainability related issues are being given priority by them. See, if you see the last point in this slide, it talks about a almost threefold rise in the past 3 years, as far as sustainability funds are concerned. Now, I will show you this statistic. 60%, as per the RepTrack survey in 2020, 60% of a public are willing to buy from a company with a high ESG score. What does this mean? It means that people are slowly also transitioning to intelligent investing, or also they keep social responsibility in their heads before also investing. So that is also a very important thing which is kept in mind by the general public before investing. Now, institutional investors are a big step ahead. They have sort of completely transitioned. Most of them are completely transitioned to, say, for example, in case like recently, even in last week, America passed a resolution against investing in Uyghur-based companies in China, because of a lot of questionable practices and questionable labor practices and other issues. Recently, the Women Tennis Association pulled out of all tournaments in China because they have ill-treated a number one player, because the player was not to be found, and there was a lot of discrimination against the player. So all these things are getting global. So today with internet and with television, a lot of these things are right in our screens immediately. So every single move is watched. So we have to ensure that we have to that all these practices are followed in spirit, in letter and spirit. So if you look at the ESG assets, by 2025, just 4 years down the line, they may exceed around 53 trillion, and which is almost 1/3 of the total AUM. Which means, so this is just a conservative estimate. So it may even be half, which means only the companies with proper ESG practices will find the proper investment as in a few years to come. And today, as I said, Europe, since because of the developed economy, a lot of the Scandinavian countries have also brought in a lot of ESG practices. 50% of the global assets are coming from Europe. US, particularly after the new regime, is making strong pitches towards ESG related issues, and Asia and particularly Japan are also expected. Is also known as a Global Sustainable Alliance, is also expected to follow suit. See, in India, though we are having only 0.08% of the global assets, in the last 1 year, out of 10 ESG themed funds, 7 were launched after 2020, which is a very big indicator as to where we are going and how this is going to take place. Because ultimately, as ESG is everyone is going to consider that as a sine qua non of investing, which means that it has to be a dar. I need ESG related issues. If you have questionable practices, I will not be investing in your company. That is what is the issue. Like, for example, cement companies, even other companies where there have been questionable accounting practices. There is an accounting fraud, etc. They will not be finding investors in the years to come. Now, there is also the studies which are also indicating that 90% of the studies are indicating that even the returns are also superior, because obviously over a period of time, if there is no traction as far as non-ESG companies are concerned, the thing will move towards ESG companies only. So that is why it will generate a superior return. And similarly, for example, if you look at even a study by Axioma, which says that majority of the portfolios weighted in favor of companies with better ESG scores outperform the benchmarks. So that is also very important. I have given one example here, that of Shell, which is supposed to be one of the best performing companies in the US for a long time to come. Like, for example, even ExxonMobil, for example. These are all companies who are considered to be the darlings of the stock market because they are performing every time, obviously, because oil is the lifeblood of business, the lifeblood of everyday life. But how does it happen? Oil, how it is taken? So over of time, they have neglected communities, nature and environment. So that company, they are also losing. It is self-defeating as far as the long run is concerned. Maybe for 50 years, they've been able to sustain the number 1, number 2, number 3 position. So now today, with a lot of awareness, it is coming down a lot. Now, if you look at BRSR, I will give you a small snapshot as to what exactly this contains, this whole BRSR contains. First is sustainability risks and opportunities. See, any business will have a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So today, in case of companies, what are the sustainability related risks and what are the opportunities is something which they have to bring. And also, what are the steps that you're taking to mitigate such risks is also something which you have to give. And do you have a sustainability related goal, a target or a performance? And how do you prioritize the sustainability is something which we have to give. And what is your performance as far as this is concerned? Environment related parameters, what is the resource that you're using? Waste management. See, I'll give you a small example. When this whole ESG thing caught in the world and people caught up and then people started investing, there were a lot of investments in the FANG stocks. What are FANG? FAANG. Facebook, Apple, okay, and Netflix, Google, Amazon. These are the 5. This is known as the FANG stocks. So people were thinking that, okay, if the institutional investors were trying to give this, argument that if I'm going to invest in these companies, which are IT companies, they are not polluting. Since they are not polluting, there is no air pollution. So then we will go ahead with investment. But then people found that to run an IT company, to run a company which is dependent so much on the internet, you have to spend so much, right? You have to destroy the environment to that extent. How do these servers run? If you're buying something on Amazon, if you're chatting on Facebook, they also have their servers. The space servers also generate a lot of heat, and they used humongous electronic waste, right? So then people started thinking, oh my God, it's not just air pollution, not just water pollution that counts. A lot of other things also have to be taken into account. So this ESG actually keeps having a metamorphosis, over a period of time. what exactly is sustainable investing will keep changing in the years to come. Okay. The other important thing which I've been talking about is about social parameters. Social parameters are typically your employees or workers related, turnover rates. Turnover rates, but in case, what is the indicator of a turnover rate? A turnover rate indicates that increased turnover rate indicates there is something wrong with the company. Labor practices are not good. So then welfare measures, what have you done for women, children? Many companies offer a creche, they have schools, a lot of things they do, caretaking, etc. Accessibility to for specially able to people, how many people are you employing, what are the facilities you have given them, occupational hazards in case there are certain occupational hazards, what are the safety measures that you are taking, and what is the wages, whether you're following the minimum wages that are stipulated, whether you're complying with provident fund rules. Because labor practices, if they are questionable, they're going to have a huge hit. See, today, in case you export to countries like US and Europe, they have a huge list of questions which they ask. They include where you are sourcing the material. They also include what about the finished goods? What are you employing? So the sustainability is actually a chain. It's not just one isolated company, it's a chain. So in the BRSR, we have also mentioned two things. One is your essential indicators. Second thing is leadership indicators. Essential indicators are those which you have to compulsorily comply with. And leadership indicators are those which you may choose to comply with. And in case you comply, you will be able to be a leader in that particular segment. Now, as it was rightly said, right, Mr. Ramchandra rightly said, the reporting is voluntary for the first year and mandatory from next year onwards. And we are also encouraging a lot of companies to be early adopters. See, before I finish this lecture, and take the questions, I leave with two important quotes which you should take home. One quote is this, which is Robert Swan, who is one of the first man to walk on both the North and South poles. He said the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Okay, which is not the case. We only have to save our planet. The second one, which is a very ancient Indian proverb, which is also from the Upanishads, it says that you have to treat the earth very well because it was not given to you by your parents, but it is loaned to you by your children. Ultimately, whatever you create is for your children. They are the people who are going to use your, this whole earth. So this is what I have come to speak today. I will now take questions. In case you have questions, please go ahead. And this has been a very refreshing session because this is a session which I'm very passionate about. There's a lot to talk, but since it's so late in the evening, and I didn't want to burden you with too many statistics and figures. But I think we can have an interactions now. In case I'm able to answer your questions, I'll be able to give. Otherwise, I'll always respond by email later.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pradeep. I think it was a fascinating talk that you made because it's an emerging topic. In fact, most of us know what is the CSR. Now, this particular newer version of ESG, I think has been a little broader in the sense that it is engulfing many things. The environment, the social responsibilities, as well as the corporate governance, the good governance. So I think, sir, wonderfully, you have brought out all these facets in a very nice way to make it as simple as possible for even a beginner to understand. There are students in our group today. I'm sure these students will get benefited by your talk, for sure, apart from the gentlemen who are there who are quite senior now. Sir, I have, probably since I'm very moderating this session, maybe I'll ask one or two questions to you first, though I'll request all the gentlemen sitting over to put the questions across on the chat box. But if there are not many, maybe they can raise their hands and then we can take a question also. That would be probably my suggestion. And if you agree, we'll go ahead, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I was only asking, one question is that this ESG is something which is for the large companies, the top 1,000 companies or whatever it is. But sir, there are so many small companies and I think the rules won't change. I mean, all the things will be applicable to them also. Now, how are we going to bring those people into the fold or how exactly we can control them? Because they also are polluting. There are also social issues. Many issues are there, and corporate governance. MSME actually there is hardly any corporate governance because it's a one-man army. Now, I just really wanted to know, sir, if there is an answer for this particular thing, or something else is coming up for this particular aspect also to be taken care of. Because it's not only limited to India, but MSMEs are world over, and MSME contribute to a great amount to the GDP. So I request you to please clarify.
So if you look at the report, the BRSR report, which is available on the company MCA's website, you must be, you can see that we had brought in, recommended two versions. One is the BRSR report. Then we had recommended a version called BRSR Lite. So BRSR Lite was supposed to be made applicable for MSMEs, but the government will take a call later, I think, because the MCA will have to, because we are, who is only listed entities, and we will be, we have already prescribed for the top 1,000 listed entities by, by market capitalization. We have already mentioned, we have already made it, and then probably we will extend it later after a period of time. But as far as the MSMEs are concerned, there is a BRSR Lite which has already been recommended, but we don't know when it is going to come into force.
There is one question from Ms. Lekha.
Yeah, I will just see why this gentleman. Okay, do all. So that answer I have given. So for BRSR is the top 1,000 entities. And I think about women, I think I've spoken a lot. And then I think we have given a huge fillip to that. And we always believe that there should be proportional representation and there should be diversity on the boards, which is why we had brought in all these rules and regulations. Now, with COVID hitting MSMEs, how many do you think would be compliant and be transparent? For the slashed bottom lines, costs are priorities when it comes to employing child labor. See, we have to ensure certain things, is that over a period of time, certain things will become a priority. There was one point in time, even today, Delhi is one city in India which is landlocked, and particularly during the December-Jan season, it becomes very difficult to breathe because of the weather also. So that is why when the government started with experimenting with an odd even the vehicles on odd days and even days. So they said that, okay, that was initially people were laughing about it. Over a period of time, people started adopting that. So as far as MSMEs are concerned, over a period of time, you have to become transparent. Imagine, will you send your son or your daughter, to a place like an MSME and make them work? We will not make our children indulge in child labor, right? The same thing will be applicable for others also. So ultimately, like I said, so suppose when I ask, people ask me, did they check at the airport about your COVID certification? My answer is simply this: why should they check? You are a citizen of the country. You are supposed to be double vaccinated before getting onto a plane. It is your responsibility. For every single thing which the government prescribes, if you expect the government to employ people at different portions of the street to check whether you are compliant or not, it's not going to happen. So as far as MSMEs are concerned, over a period of time, they will have to follow suit. And this will, over a period of time, become a regular. It become a part of life, that employment of child labor is not going to happen, because tomorrow there is not someone who's going to invest. Like I'm talking about a funding. How do you run MSME? You run MSME because of funding. And if tomorrow banks stop funding an MSME because you have questionable practices, then automatically you will follow suit, right? See, all this ultimately, this is how it will happen. For a period of time, it will be a demand supply crunch, and people will have to go ahead with it. See, I understand it might be very simplistic for me to say that, okay, from tomorrow you will not employ child labor, when we know fully well that, like these nano enterprises, we all know, even while we go on the road, we find a small companies where you will have, for example, you go to a tea stall, there will be a small boy who will come and give you a tea. You don't have catch hold of the tea stall owner and ask him, why are you employing a boy or a small, or a girl for that matter. So, but over a period of time, this has to go, this will go. And this is, we as a people only will have to go do it. You see, it is not someone who is going to stand on top of the corner of the earth and going to shower all ESG related issues. This is something which has to come from ourselves from in. So SEBI is making a very small step, and imagine, keep in mind that SEBI's rules and regulations are applicable only for listed entities, and listed entities are not much. There are lakhs of companies in this country. Listed entities are only 5,000. Okay, so we are making our small step towards listed entities. We hope that it is going to be a mirror effect on others also, and it will come in a period or time to come. Why and how can we make ESG a priority? Aren't there other important and pressing requirements for our country to expend effort and money? Okay, this is a very good question. The reason why I am saying is India has actually put this forward, because there should be a distinguishing factor between a developed country and a developing country. Okay, so you cannot compare a Norway with an India, because we are just in a different phase of industrialization, and our benefits of liberalization have not reached the nook and corner of the country. So that is very important. That is why India and China have ensured that in the latest COP26, this conference of parties, which was held at Copenhagen and then Glasgow, the recent climate conference in 2021, where we have said that we will phase down fossil fuels and we will not phase out fossil fuels. There's a difference between phasing out fossil fuels, which means that I will not have coal from tomorrow. So if there is no coal from tomorrow, there can't be any power. It's not so easy. So we'll have to ensure that we make alternative arrangements and before we jump into all these things. So that is the reason why we have said that we will take time. So while, for example, Britain has said that by 2030, there won't be any fossil fuel vehicles on the road. That is just 8 years from today, there won't be any fossil fuel vehicles on the road. That's what Britain has said. We have said we will take time till 2070 to do that. So that is the reason. So as you said, there are other important things for us to expend money and time and effort. That is, like, for example, women, social health care, etc. We can concentrate on the S part. But keep in mind one thing. The fact is that you and I will breathe the same air, use the same water as others, right? COVID happened in some part of the globe, somewhere in China. It has flattened the entire globe. So environmental issues are issues which are going to concern the entire world. Though we may try to say that, okay, for India, we will follow this, someone else will follow more. The fact is that how many of us can say from tomorrow, I will not buy plastic. I will not use plastic. These are all small things which we can also do from our side. It will be difficult for the first few days. See, we coped with COVID. We were asked to work from home only. How many of us have worked from home in our lives? We might have not worked from home in our lives, but the last 1.5 years, we have coped with working from home. So man is the most adaptive animal. Man can always do it, and it is only within man to do it. During the COVID time, when the entire world was inside, the environmental health improved so much, right? So which means that man is the person who is causing pollution and contributing to it, and man has to take steps to do it. There is no choice. No, you can either live and breathe bad air, drink bad water, or you can do your bit to contribute to better lifestyle. SEBI would not be applicable. That is what I think I have answered that question. I think it is for others to do it. BRSR light will come in sometime maybe, but I'm not very much sure of it. But the fact is that there is a BRSR light recommendation in the report. I have an interest to do a project. My email address is there on the website. You can always take it. Okay. And what are the other questions? SEBI is slow in actions. I don't understand what that question means. I don't even know what. It's just a very innocuous line. I don't know. Okay. I'm not going to answer that because see, in a question, I want to tell people something. See, when you are participating in a debate, please stick to the topic. I'm willing to speak about SEBI, nothing, but we should also elaborate. What do you mean by slow in action? It's a very open-ended statement, so there's nothing for me to say there. So the statements which I'm making today are personal. They have not got anything to do with SEBI. That is also something which I have to say. So these are all not SEBI's views. They are all my views. In case there are any other questions that I can take, otherwise I think I can call it a day.
Sir, in your one question, sir, in your experience in India, how exactly are we in this particular at this particular point of time, sir? Which are some of the good companies which have started doing this in a big way, or a demonstrative effect is there?
So there is from the surveys which have been taken, we have done a lot well when it comes to the Paris Accord. India has made a huge, taken a giant step forward as far as the Paris Accord is concerned, because we are one of the very few countries who have, contributed towards, lessening the, climate change effect. But we are a big country. We have the second most populated. We are the second most populated country in the world. So we will have to do much, much more because we have to ensure, because the population being more, it affects a lot of people in one shot. So we will have to take a lot of more steps. It will take time, the right time to assess, maybe 2 or 3 years down the line after the BRSR is coming out. Because the BRSR is the first attempt made in this country to measure. Once you will be able to come with surveys, answers to surveys only when you have when you have metrics, right? When you have quantifiable information, that is possible only from the BRSR. So next year we will be able to come out with some idea as to where exactly we are as far as listed entities are concerned, which will, like you very rightly said, which will have a demonstrative effect towards, on other companies also.
So thank you very much, sir. I don't, there is one more question, of course, is on my name, but I don't think it's my name. Most leaders are aware of these pollution controls and rules.
Controls, 38 years, how I have settled down in a village, pollution is caused by agricultural sector. Yeah, how our country can attack? See, again, like for example, recently, Sri Lanka made a very big experiment. They removed all the industrial manure, industrial impact on agriculture, and they went to completely organic agriculture. It had a huge negative impact on their economy, and on the agriculture itself. So they made a very hasty retreat. So we should also be very careful before completely abandoning anything. See, you cannot do that overnight. It will be a gradual shift, and over a period of time, we will be able to ensure that proper fertilizer, as far as fertilizers are concerned, and other issues relating to village-related issues are concerned, that will also take a are compliant with environment-related issues.
So I think with that, probably I hope the questions are over. Once again, we thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session, I must say. We are really enriched by your talk. I think definitely it is a beginning for many of us to understand this concept. And I think, sir, you have really put sown the seeds. As a formality, as HMA, we feel very privileged that you are here, sir. And maybe I'll once again request you.
Mine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we probably call you again, sir, and please do accept our invitation.
It will be my pleasure to address the gathering. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I'll request our treasurer, Sri Jeevan Naidu, to please propose the official vote of thanks. Jeevan Naidu. Jeevan Garu. Kindly take also the poll, please. I request all the August audience to kindly take a poll. Jevant, are you there, sir? Let's have a screen.
No problem. It's okay, sir. No problem.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll take the privilege, sir. I think I really love thanking people because it is always a very positive thing. And sir, you have accepted our request. And in fact, you had a personal difficulty of being late in Bombay, especially, but still you obliged my request. And
quite some time to reach home, and I'll be emitting a lot of fuel.
I must also thank my friend Narasimhan Garu, who has introduced you, and I think we also had a wonderful lecture by him. And sir, today I think it was a really fantastic session. I'll thank once again on behalf of HMA, on behalf of all our members.
So may I say something? Just one comment. Pradeep Garu, thank you so much. I thought it was wonderful. I also like the fact that you stated very clearly that it's up to each one of us. And, with the global village, so to say, coming, it is not that there are going to be boundaries to what we are doing in our country. And I think it's very essential for each one of us to actually pick up the baton and continue to do what we can in our own way, not only for the tomorrow of our children and grandchildren, but I think also for ourselves. It's not too far that we are going to be covered by pollution. So thank you so much. I thought it was an extremely relevant session.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, HMA. Very, very interested, in the quality of the seminars that you're bringing up. Thank you.
It is a privilege, madam. We feel very proud that we have a person like Mr. Pradeep on our board today, and nice for your comments. And I think we feel really very happy about it. And we look forward to have similar such sessions earlier. And I requested Pradeep Garu to probably once again come and give a reinforcing lecture once again. Yeah, that would be wonderful, sir. Thank you very much. I also thank our president. Jevant Garu, you are here. Please, you can talk.
I couldn't unmute. So thank you very much for having accepted the invitation and come and guide all on this very important subject. And we would also like to thank our past presidents, our advisors, and all members who are here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
We also request them to be a part of HMA as members.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. Thank you once again, and thank you everybody, and a great evening to one and all. Looking forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
అధ్యక్షుల వారికి
In
శుభాకాంక్షలు.
advance, a very
Namaskaram,
happy
sir.
New Year.
Andariki. Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe. Absolutely. Stay safe. Wishing
And
you all
in
a very good day.
advance happy New Year to all.
Yeah, advance Happy New Year.
థ్యాంక్ యూ, సేమ్ టు యూ.
Thank you, sir.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
I
Ending
think
the
you can-
meeting. Good night.
Karthik,
You can call the meeting off, Geeta.
yes, Karthik will do the meeting.
Ending the meeting. Good night to everybody.